Just got back from my run, very much the middle of winter at the moment, cold and wet. So I decided to run on the pavement rather than the trails, which would be underwater at the moment. So good chance for another run in the Asics GlideRide. I'll give you my early impressions once I clean up and have something to eat. Bye. And I'm back. The Asics GlideRide. These are my early impressions. So far, I've done 4 runs, totaling 56 kilometres in them. My rule is 100 kilometres before a full review, but I think these will need a little bit more. Before we go any further, let's look at the details. Weight, 330 grams or 11.6 ounces in a US 11.5. That puts it on the heavier side. Stack, 35 mil in the heel, 29 mil in the forefoot. That's a 6 mil ramp. That's a very high stack height. To put those figures into better perspective, I've listed the weight, stack and ramp of all my current shoes. Looking at this list, the shoes I bought for long runs are Clifton 6, GlideRide, Race Ultra and Mad River, the 4 heaviest on the list. Makes sense. If you want extra cushioning and comfort for the long runs, there is going to be a weight penalty. But the Race Ultra and Mad River are trail runners. So for the long runs on the road, the GlideRide is competing against the Clifton 6, which is more than 10% lighter. The Cliftons feel lightish when I run in them. That's not the case with the GlideRides. But the weight feels quite balanced, so they never really feel heavy, although that might change after 2 hours of running. Now, switching to the stack heights. As you can see, it is easily the highest stack runners I own. I was actually surprised that the GlideRide was higher than the Hockers. It doesn't feel nearly as high, nor as disconnected from the ground as the Hockers, but the GlideRides do feel big. My first impression was that I was running with boats attached to my feet. Not heavy, not high, just big. Although that's probably because most of my runners are very much on the lightweight side. If we look at the shoe, the stack height is well disguised. It's got a thick liner, so you actually sit a fraction above the outsole there, compared to the Clifton, that you actually cupped into the outsole, which gives it a bit more of its stability. The upper is very plush. I would call it over-engineered. I think you could lose a lot of weight by having a less engineered upper. The Clifton has cushioning around the heel and the tongue, but the rest of the upper is actually quite lightweight. The GlideRide feels more substantial the whole way through, but again, that's just more weight. For me, the fit is good. I like the wider toe box, and with the plush upper, I've used thin socks. No issues with comfort at all. Even on the long runs, comfort right to the end. The outsole has this groove down the middle. I'm not sure what the purpose is, although I have already caught 1 stone in there. Maybe I was just unlucky. The outsole is very stiff. It takes a lot of effort to bend it. It has a very pronounced meta rocker. You can see the toe on the shoe sits quite high, compared to the Clifton, where the meta rocker is much more subtle. As you put your weight through the toe, that enables the shoe to spring forward, giving you that extra push. I never had a problem with the more subtle meta rocker in the Rincon and the Clifton, but the GlideRide's meta rocker and I got off to a rocky start, which is the reason why I didn't do a first impression after my first run. I bought the GlideRides for long runs, so took them out for 16 kilometres or 10 miles, mostly on groomed trails. It wasn't good. Felt like I was fighting them the whole way. I did exactly the same run 8 days earlier in the New Balance Fresh Foam Beacons, a much lighter shoe, but definitely not what I would regard as a faster shoe. Same running the beacons was 4 minutes quicker with an average heart rate 4 beats lower. So for less effort, I ran 15 seconds per kilometre or 24 seconds per mile quicker in the beacons. Or alternatively, you could say it took more effort in the GlideRides to run significantly slower. I figured there was probably two issues. The GlideRides are not suited to trails, and the GlideRides are not suited to 4-foot strikers. I've since done 3 more runs in the GlideRides, including today's 18-kilometre long run. I've been concentrating on doing these runs with a mid-foot strike. I'm a 4-foot striker, but moving to mid-foot for slow runs is not a bad thing. If you watch competitors in the second half of a marathon, unlikely to see anybody still landing on their 4-foot. Each run, my pace has improved and my average heart rate has got lower. I still drift back and forth between 4-foot and mid-foot, difficult to hold focus the whole time, but I can definitely feel the benefit of the meta rocker when I'm landing mid-foot. I also shot some video to try and show the differences. I have a split screen with 2 slow motion shots of me running in the GlideRides. I had intended a closer shot of the shoes and less of me, but I'm still learning how to take good videos with the GoPro. If we roll through to the first foot strike, on the left, I am heel striking with my left foot. On the right, I am 4-foot striking with my right foot. I'm landing on different feet in the 2 videos, but that shouldn't make much difference. Now we'll roll a touch further forward to show what happens when the shoe is fully weighted. With the heel strike on the left, the meta rocker is keeping the toes high, but the 4-foot strike on the right has completely flattened the meta rocker. I think this is why the shoes do not feel as good when I'm landing on the balls of my feet. The outsole becomes completely flat, largely disabling the meta rocker. If we roll forward frame by frame, we can see a big difference with the toe off. On the right, I am pushing off like I would in any other runner, a normal toe off, and you can see my foot leaves the ground a lot earlier. We'll go back and have a look on the left on the heel strike. On the left, as my weight transfers to my toes, I'm rolling through the stride, allowing the meta rocker to help spring my foot forward. I probably don't spring as far, but I'm using a lot less effort each stride. Not much good for speed in a shorter race, but certainly handy for efficiency during longer runs. I've taken another slow motion video, this time on a trail. If we step through the video, we can see that I'm heel striking, but I'm flattening out the midsole like I did when running with a 4-foot strike on the harder surface. Probably something to do with the softer surface, or maybe something specific about the way I run. Either way, I do not find the GlideRide suited to running on trails. Maybe my opinion will change when I get more mileage in the shoes and more adapted to running in them. I don't think the GlideRides and I are ever going to be a marriage made in heaven, but we're slowly working things out, and they are still in contention to be my go-to shoe for long runs. They are currently up against the Cliftons for that honour. The Cliftons are 10% lighter. The Cliftons don't complain if you're not activating the meta rocker, so they work better on trails or if you're 4-foot running. The GlideRide fits my foot better with the wider toe box, which makes them more comfortable. The GlideRides don't feel as disconnected from the ground, which is strange considering it has a higher stack height. I think it's because the cushioning is a little bit more dense, less soft. The GlideRide has a more pronounced meta rocker, so if you are activating it, you actually get more advantage. And looking at the sole of the GlideRider compared to the exposed outsole on the Hoka, I think the GlideRide will last longer. For me, I can only see myself using the GlideRide for easy or long runs on solid surfaces like bike paths. As soon as I start picking up the pace, tempo runs, threshold intervals, track workouts, I'm immediately going to move more onto my 4-foot, and the GlideRide just isn't going to work for me. If you're a heel striker, I could maybe see them becoming your daily trainer. I think they're too heavy to be a race shoe, but I could see some people using them for marathons. Probably more so for an Ironman, where you're never really running that fast, and the cushioning and meta rocker could really help you in the second half of the run. Well, that's it for my early impressions of the Asics GlideRide. Hopefully I'll do a full review once I get in more mileage. Thanks for watching.